Okay, Cheryl, you're back in the room. Can you hear me? If you can type that in, make sure I want to make sure everyone else is able to hear me. So uh, at the present, okay, and the YouTube channel for some reason is not populating, so we're gonna move on without it. Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm glad to have everyone here. Technology is, in fact, our friend, but one thing you always have to check it and give yourself enough time. And even if you give yourself enough time, you may find that in the midst of whatever you're doing, that technology defaults to whatever it wants to do. So we're going to go ahead and prepare ourselves to get started this morning. While we're doing that, if you could go ahead and drop your salutations into the chat, and we're going to just go ahead and get started this morning. All right, let me pull up my other screen. All right, good morning, everyone. Just take a second to just bring yourself present. It's always good to see each of you who join us at this designated time. And I want to say good morning to you as you come into the room this morning. So let's take a 5 second interlude in order to reset everything. All right, good morning, friends in consciousness, and welcome to Serendipity Sunday here at the Oasis Everywhere. Here's where we gather each week to create sacred space for insight, inspiration, and inner awakening. I'm Greg Stanton, also known as Asar. I'm the founder of Oasis Spiritual Center for Divine Living. And it is my joy to welcome each of you into this community of students, of seekers, and soulful thinkers who are learning to live from the inside out. Whether this is your first time joining this community or you've been journeying with us for years, know this: you didn't stumble into this moment by accident. You were guided here by divine alignment. There's a word, a reminder, a revelation in today's message with your name on it. Here at Oasis, we don't teach escapism, we teach embodiment. We believe spirituality happens right where you stand, in your decision, in your growth, and even in your consciousness. So take a deep breath right now and just relax and release the weak. Open your heart. You are amongst family, friends, thinkers, healers, dreamers, innovators, and builders of new consciousness. This morning's message is entitled The Breadcrumb of the Coming Age, the Man Carrying the Water. So let's begin by acknowledging the moment humanity is currently standing in. We're living in a space in one of the most accelerated periods in human history. People across the globe, not just here in America, are feeling a deep spiritual, psychological tremor. Something is shifting beneath the surface of everyday life. Here's the truth, though. People sense we've crossed a threshold. But the old spiritual maps can't explain the terrain of this new world. The acceleration of change has outpaced our inherited beliefs, leaving many of us disoriented, anxious, and searching for the next breadcrumb of guidance. That's what today's message is about: a breadcrumb, a clue, a compass point, a symbolic instruction for the age that we are stepping into. And the biblical narrative of Jesus gave this breadcrumb long before this time. So let's go into the text this morning that holds the key. When we look at Luke 22 and 10, it records Jesus saying, When you enter the city, a man will meet you carrying a pitcher of water. Follow him into the house he enters. This is no casual detail. It was symbolic, encoded, and intentional. Why, you may ask? Because in that culture, men did not carry water jars. Go back to the scripture. You'll find every time a man approached the watering hole or the oasis, there were women there filling their jars because women carried it. So Jesus is giving us a sign that stands out from the ordinary, a breadcrumb, a signal, a clue for those with eyes to see. Now, let me kind of break it down. When we see here in this scripture, it says, when you enter the city, a man will meet you. This man represents awakened, conscious humanity, yet bearing the inherent danger that when humanity, not spirit, attempts to carry, control, or redefine the message, we have ego, agenda, and misinterpretation, which can distort the divine intention. So, what is happening here, even when you look at what's going on, man is still carrying, attempting to carry the water urn. And when man does something, when I say man, I'm talking about the phenotype. Men have a different perspective. And so they're carrying something that's very essential and very important to what's about to come. And so it can be distorted. So even when we look at AI, it's being ushered in. When you look at the leaders, the individuals who are promoting this, the ones who are building this, it's mostly men. And this talks about carrying water. Water represents illumination, it represents knowledge, it represents spiritual intelligence. But we are instructed to follow him. That is to align with the consciousness of the coming age. And we're going to go deeper into that because what he's talking about, follow him into the house, enter the inner life, the inner temple, and symbolically enter the next age. Now, in the language of cosmic time, the house is not merely a physical dwelling, but it's an age of consciousness, a shift in humanity, a shift in our collective identity. So we find that Jesus' instruction points to the movement from the Piscean house that they were in and that we're currently exiting, the age of faith, hierarchy, the age of sacrifice, the age of institutionalized spirituality, known as religion, into the new house that we're entering in. And this house is called the Aquarian house. The age of knowledge is the age of illumination, spiritual intelligence, collective awakening. His phrase becomes an invitation to step out of the old age or framework, the Piscean frameworks, and into the Aquarian consciousness now unfolding. Now, that's not going to be easy. There will be a lot of cognitive dissonance. There'll be a lot of resistance, and we're going to kind of look at that. And he tells us to go into the upper room. That is to go into a place of ascension in both our minds and our identity. Now, I want you to know this. Jesus wasn't simply given direction when you read these scriptures. Actually, he was preparing them and us for a shift. He was saying, when you see this sign, the new age is unfolding. Follow the breadcrumb. The breadcrumb appears again when we begin to look at our African cosmology. Now, we have to understand this. As we shift from what we are so accustomed to into the new age, it's a time of dying, it's a time of releasing, it's a time of letting go. And we're not all the way into we have not totally exited the Piscean age. It's still holding on to us. We're still white knuckling, holding on to the beliefs and the religious systems that we have held to. Now, we need to make a shift. To understand this symbol or this teaching, we must go back before the Bible, back to Africa. One of the books that I have read in the past and most recently found that a new book has been written was a book written by Dr. Charles Finch. It's called Echoes of the Old Darkland. He reminds us that the Nile Valley sages had mapped humanity's story, history, not in centuries, but in ages. In that book, he talks about vast cycles marked by shifts in consciousness. And he has a new book out now that goes back 10,000 years, which I was thumbing through it on yesterday. And I see he does have a small piece in there in regards to our topic this morning. But he talks about ages. And I'm going to go this Tuesday night. I'm going to revisit a teaching that I taught some time ago where I dealt with all the ages. And we're going to bring it forward and relook it based on where we are today. But basically, this morning, I want to share with you there are great ages, and we want to look at the last three ages, which has ushering us into this current age. When we go back in the annals of time, one of the first ages that we deal with is the age of the Taurus or the Bull Age, and we're gonna unpack that a little further. And this was a time where they dealt with materiality, agriculture, fertility, and this is all substantiated when you use the Bible and look at its unfolding. Then we moved into the Aquarian age, or known as the age of the Ram, where we have the law, sacrifice, the priesthood, and the most recent age that we find ourselves moving out of being the Piscean or the fish age. It's the age of faith, the devotion, known as the church age. And so we're preparing to go into this age that is being alluded to in the title, the Aquarian age, the water bearer age, where we talk about knowledge increasing, illumination coming forth, spiritual intelligence. So thousands of years ago, our African teachers already knew this. They already charted this. The Great Age is about approximately 26,000 years. And so they had to observe it at least twice to understand that there was a system that continued to unfold. And that goes back to the truth that humanity science says that we're over 300,000 years old. So but then we don't act as if we act really new. So when we acknowledge that humanity expands back into antiquity, it causes us to rethink the position that we try to define everything by the last 2 to 3,000 years. Now, humanity evolves in cycles, and each age carries a signature symbol. When we look at the water bearer, it's the man carrying the water when it's depicted in the images today. But the earliest depictions of the water bearer was always a woman. It's the symbol of Aquarius, the age we are about to enter into. Now, Jesus was speaking the same metaphysical language as the masters of the now, the mystics of the now. He offered the same breadcrumb. So let's talk about what happens when an age is ending, because that's important. History reveals predictable patterns. When we look at the age of Aries or the Taurian age, people clung to the bull. I mean, from Taurus to Aries, that shift from the age to the age of Aries, people clung to what was known as the bull. Okay, the golden calf. You know the incident. It wasn't random. It was resistance, as seen in Exodus 32 verses 1 through 8, where Israel, anxious during Moses' absence, Akhenaten, demanded a visible symbol and fashioned a golden calf. They fashioned a calf based on what they had been familiar with. This moment reveals how humanity often reaches backwards to old forms when standing on the threshold of a new spiritual age. This gives us an idea of why they were told not to look back. When Lot's wife looked back, she was re-imaging, and you can't bring the old into the new. Some things you just have to let go. And so when we see the moving from the Taurian age into the age of Aries, that was difficult for them. And as a result of that, they spent 40 years in the wilderness until those individuals who were steeped in the old died off. Now, what immediately follows the age of Aries, which is the age of Pisces. So between the Aries and Pisces, there was also similar resistance. Institutional religion resisted Jesus' message of inner authority, spirit-led faith, as seen in the passage when you go to Mark 3, 1 through 6. Here you find Jesus heals a woman on the Sabbath, and the religious leaders immediately conspired against him. Their reaction reveals how entrenched systems often impose emerging spiritual consciousness. And so that was the struggle between the Aries moving, releasing the Aryan influence or the Aries age and going into the Piscean age. And so for the last 2,160 years, we've been inside of the Piscean age. And in this age, it was the church age. It was that time church dictated and influenced, but something's happening. So we're about to shift. We're about to shift from the Piscean age into the Aquarian age. Now some people believe we're already into it, but they probably haven't familiarized themselves with the antiquity teachings that you could find in the African cosmology, and it gives us some hidden truths of where we really are. For we were the first to really give the cosmic time, or the what we call the various houses, or the zodiac sign. That teaching was steeped in the Kemetic or the Nile Valley communities, the Nile Valley cultures. If you get the chance to open up any study on the zodiac, the zoo types, you'll find that on the Temple of Dendra in the Nile Valley, on this very ceiling, they had all of the zoo types and the different ages, and it's a time clock. And that time clock is where we get today's zodiac sign. Now, I'm not going to go deep into that, but it's relevant to our teaching, because when we look at the scriptures, when we look at the Bible, it's not only a book that's coded, but it also represents astrotheology. So you can interpret the Bible just through astrotheology, and that'll give you a better understanding. Most of us have been taught, because of the Piscean age, to take the Bible literally and not really look at it for its being a messenger in and of itself that's coded. So as we prepare to move from the Piscean age over into the true age of Aquarius, today we find that individuals are clinging to old beliefs. They're clinging to old institutions, old identities, old hierarchies, old definitions of work and value, all of which is changing. And just as in John chapter 9, verses 13 and 14, when the healed blind man testifies to a new reality and the religious authorities refuse to accept it, preferring the familiarity of their established interpretations, we see the same resistance happening today. The leaders in the passage clung to the Piscean pattern: authority, hierarchy, rigid spirituality, while a new consciousness was emerging right before them. And that's what's happening today. Not because these were wrong, these were wrong, but because the age is shifting and the familiar is dissolving. That is what we're dealing with today. The familiar is dissolving, and is dissolving rapidly. Resistance is a symptom of transition. Confusion is a sign that the old maps are expiring. They're not working. Your spirit feels the change before your mind can explain it. And that's why there appears to be that falling away. The scripture talks about in the last day, there would be a falling away. Now, the Piscean or the church has defined that in a very particular way. But I think it was more coded than that. That people are going to come to the place of saying this isn't working, this isn't satisfying, and so now they're looking for the next. Now, recently we had a great rupture that shook the age, and that's what I want to kind of talk about. There came this disruption that touched the entire planet. COVID was not the new age. COVID was the global contradiction before the birth, a planet-wide labor pain. It shifted us. COVID forced humanity inward. We all went into the house. Okay. It exposed weaknesses in our old systems. We wanted work to continue, but we had to now reacclimate. Now, interesting. Before COVID, working from home was possible. Many of the things that we were able to do, that we were doing in large group settings, we were able to do digital, but people were refusing. Even in the clinical realm that I delve in, delivering service to patients, it was all face to face. And there was many institutions, hospitals that were refusing the fact that a lot of what we were doing with our patients, our clients, face to face could actually be done digitally or virtually. But because of COVID, it forced them because they still wanted the work to go on, they still wanted to generate income, they acclimated to the change. So I'm saying COVID was kind of a catalyst. It accelerated digital and virtual adoption. It dissolved outdated structures. And then, even when we look at the current administration and political individuals who are representing the old system, they come back post COVID and did away with or attempted to go back to return to work and those kinds of things. And it's an attempt, a last ditch attempt for the old to raise its ugly head and recapture, but you can't go back. These outdated structures are dissolving or have been dissolved. During COVID, we found that it made meditation, introspection, and mental health mainstream. That was a major conversation that many people entered into. It prepared the mind for a new level of consciousness, and most don't even acknowledge that. A good example is the church pews are not filled. And although individuals still are going to church, they are getting their spiritual needs in a more virtual manner. Versus like this morning, we've been inside of a virtual presentation pre-COVID for many years. But now more people are on platforms. I remember when COVID first hit, I had to adjust the time that my presentations were being done because so many people were competing for that 11 o'clock hour because the church now, traditional that is, began to you go into the virtual presentation, although they didn't want to do it, but they had to do it in order to keep the connection to their members. And so there was a great competition for this space that had not been used, and Zoom just blew up. I've been on Zoom for about 25, 30 years almost, and it was cost little or nothing. And all of a sudden, the price for it, because of demand, just went up. So we see that COVID cracked the Piscean shell. It disrupted the old so the new could emerge. It was one of the breadcrumbs. Now, we're going to go deeper into that as we move into this month, upcoming month, or perhaps Tuesday night. I'm going to really go deeper for those who really want to know more about what I'm talking about. So, right after the contradiction came the outpouring. AI did not appear by accident. Artificial intelligence. Okay. It didn't appear by accident. Its emergence aligns perfectly with the Aquarian signature. It's really setting us up. We're not going back. AI is out the box. Whether you use it or not, that's on you. But those who use it are preparing themselves for what's next. Now, The Aquarius is the age of, or the Aquarian age is the age of collective intelligence. It's the age of illumination, expanded cognition, decentralization, innovation, and sovereignty. Now that's beautiful because during the Aquarian age, it moves from groupthink to individual think, but not in an isolated way, but as in a collaboration. Your voice is just important as someone else's voice. AI is knowledge poured out like water. AI is a collective mind made accessible. AI is a place where all information that man has engaged in is available to man. It's intelligence democratized. Not just the individuals who can afford to go to school and get a higher education. Matter of fact, the whole educational process is now up in turmoil. Higher academia isn't embracing it. Now, they're shifting because the horses out the barn, and they really can't determine if a student truly is using AI, and it's causing instructors now to have to be on their A game because that student sitting right there in the classroom at any time can actually fact check them. So AI is not being embraced totally by certain professions because the impact it is having, but it's here to stay. AI is a creativity multiplier. When you look at what's going on, a lot of people are using AI just for creative, to create advertisements, and those they're playing with it. But there's more to it than just the creativity level that's being expressed. People are using it to create, generate income primarily, but not really looking at it for what can it really do? How can it really assist us? It's opportunity expanded. So when I look at AI, I look at it very differently than those individuals who are steeped in the old mindset. We got to understand AI is not here to replace our consciousness. AI is here to amplify it. Many people look at AI just from the perspective of jobs. Many people look at AI from the perspective of the damage it may do on the in the ecological system. Now, we need to address all those things. How it's impacting jobs is important to look because it is really taking away a lot of jobs. If you've paid any attention to the local job market, you see thousands are being laid off and not to return. And so, what we have to do is begin to ask ourselves, what role will we play in the world of work in the future? So that's a whole nother conversation. So AI is one of the modern water bearers, one of the breadcrumbs. It's a sign that the new age is not coming, but is fast upon us. Now, Jesus didn't give a breadcrumb. He told them where the breadcrumb leads. It led to the upper room. Now, the upper room is not a location. It's really a state of consciousness. It represents expanded awareness, spiritual intelligence, elevated identity, readiness for the next dimension, maturity of the soul. So that's what going into the upper room was about. The upper room is the place within each of us that is prepared and furnished for who you are becoming. But you can't enter the upper room with old fears, old frameworks, old definitions of who you are, of self, old definitions of God, old spiritual conditioning. Can't go into the upper room, can't ascend there. You rise into the upper room, you don't walk into it, you awaken into it. The water bearer leads the way. We're going to talk about the importance of water. Everything begins in water. Life begins in water. So, Where do we stand? So, what does all this mean to you, to each of us right now? It means a few things. It means we are standing in the hinge between ages. We have to recognize that. We're on the cusp. We're in the in between. We're in the meantime. We in what will be looked at as that 40-year period. And not just 40 linear years, but it's looked at as a cycle. The old systems have cracked. COVID initiated this labor. AI is issuing an invitation. Come on now. Africa holds the ancient map. So we look at the fact that Jesus gave the breadcrumb. Now, everything is pointing to the same truth. This is the beginning of the Aquarian age, an age of spiritual intelligence, higher awareness, and collective awakening. You're not lost. You may be discombobulated. You are being guided by the breadcrumbs. Now, you might say, how do I follow the breadcrumbs? Okay, here is how we walk this out. How we can translate revelation into practice. How we move from understanding into to what is true embodiment, or move from just awareness to embodiment, and how we can align our daily living with consciousness of the new age approaching. I'm gonna drill down into this a little deeper this Tuesday nights. So as we prepare to close, let me weave together the threads of today's revelation. This morning, we followed the breadcrumb trail that we were introduced to, that Jesus gave when he said, follow the man carrying the water. He knew that there was going to be a shift, that the Piscean age is a veiled male oriented energy, and that it will be a shift. So we're kind of out of balance. We've shifted into a male energy versus being able to run a complementary energy. And if we're talking about the Piscean, the Aquarian age, is not a true female age, but it's an age where there's the balance between the feminine and the masculine. So we've uncovered this symbol as a prophetic sign of the Aquarian age. It's an age long mapped by the African mystics. It's affirmed by cosmic cycles, accelerated by the recent world event of COVID, and signaled today through the rise of AI. We saw that humanity's disorientation isn't personal failure. It's the symptom of an age that's shifting. COVID cracked open the Piscean shell, okay, that we were encapsulated in. AI poured out or released the Aquarian water, the concept, and the upper room that stands as the prepared place of spiritual intelligence, expanded awareness, and divine readiness. So, this message today gives us a sense of what is happening, presents a potential map that helps us not to fear the shift, to follow the breadcrumbs. So we need to step back. We need to look at history. We need to see that things are cyclical, that the universe does not just pass you on. The universe is cyclical to make sure that you get the lesson. So everybody talking about ascending, but they're holding on to old paradigms. They're holding on to paradigms that has a morsel of truth to them, but have been adulterated. And so that's why I have always had this longing to put it on a timeline. I don't want to just start contemporary history with the contemporary time. I want to look into antiquity. If we've been here over 300,000 years, that means Source has been here 300,000 years. It didn't wait till 2,000 years ago to introduce itself, to throw humanity a lifeline. That is just that 3,000 years ago, there was individuals who took it upon themselves inside of the Piscean age, the age of control. And they created this system called religion. And inside of religion, it was used to control man. It was used to make to create systems. But that Piscean age is shifted or shifting. There are some who are going to die in the age, and there are some who's going to come out of the age and slip into it. So that's important. So this Tuesday night, I'm going to go a little deeper into the ages. I'm going to go back and look at all of the ages. And through the ages, we'll see where in the age certain biblical stories really fall into. And that'll help you unlock why that story is there and help you really to see that there are different houses and we go through these houses. We're in the house right now. We're moving. I don't know what we're moving into the Sagittarius sign shortly, and quickly to follow after that will be the um, age of the Capricorn, and then we'll move into the Aquarius. So that's interesting. So we still live these cycles on a smaller 12 month, but then we live these cycles on a larger 1260 years. And then when you go through all 12 of them, it gives you a great year, which is 26,000 years. So this is the not the first rodeo. This is not the first time we've been through each of these ages. But as we go through each age, it reflects differently because humanity is expanding in its level of consciousness. So, we're going to go into the green room here shortly. But before we do that, the scripture says that as we receive, let us also pour back into the work that pours into us. So, Oasis everywhere exists because of your intentional generosity. Your giving empowers this ministry, me, to continue to offer teachings, tools, and a sacred space to those who are navigating transitions of consciousness happening across the globe right now. So, if today's message fed your spirit or expanded your understanding, I invite you to support this work through your giving, through your sowing, your offerings, your love gifts. And you can do it via Cash App or Zelle. You can go to the website. And if you're using Cash App or Zelle, all you need to do is put the phone number in 708-368-1076. 708-368 1076. I want to thank those of you who have consistently sown into this ministry on whatever pattern of giving that you've been on at whatever amount you sow. It's deeply appreciated. Your giving is another breadcrumb, is an act of alignment, expansion, and co-creation. So I want to thank each of you for being part of this sustaining presence in this community. Thank you so for giving today. So as we prepare to close this morning, let me affirm this, and then I want you to affirm it with me. So we're going to affirm our ascension into the upper room. So let me state it once, and then we'll read it, affirm it together twice. No, one time. I follow the sign of consciousness. I trust the breadcrumb of divine intelligence. I don't fear disruption. I embrace evolution. I rise into the upper room. My mind expands, my spirit aligns, and my season begins now. So why don't you repeat that or affirm that with me? I follow the sign of consciousness. I trust the breadcrumb of divine intelligence. I don't fear disruption. I embrace it. I rise into the upper room. My mind expands. My spirit aligns. My season begins now. And so it is. So before we disconnect, just a few final notes. I want you to join me this coming Tuesday night, and I'll get that out to you for a deeper dive into what we've gone into or what you've been introduced to. For some of you, it may be in the first time you heard about the ages. For some of you, first time you really took a look at the zodiac sign because of whatever reason the Piscean age has you saying it was off limits. But I want you to join me Tuesday night for that, for a higher truth, a deeper consciousness, and a spiritual mastery that you can find here at Oasis Everywhere. And if you'd like to, for those of you who don't need to rush off, so you can stay connected for a few minutes. And I invite you into the green room. It's a warm, informal space where we reflect, ask questions, share insights, integrate what spirit stirred in us today. So I want to thank you for showing up today. Follow the breadcrumb. Your upper room is waiting. Peace. I'll see you next week. All right. For those of you who are in the Zoom room, welcome to that next phase, the green room. I like to start the green room by first of all going back through the thread to see if there's any insights that was dropped during my presentation. And let me see here. I see all the salutations. I want to say good morning, Al. Good morning, Mom. Good morning, Carolyn. The iPhone. I don't know who that is, but you can type your name in there. Good morning, Rachel, and good morning, Cheryl. I think it may be Carolyn. Rachel says COVID also caused many not to be dependent on the need for physical church gathering. It ushered in the Great Awakening or the falling away. That's right. Rachel, that's a great observation. And many preachers and my conversations with them were having a hard time. It forced many of them to go on the Facebook Live, remember that, or to even begin to use YouTube. And they weren't necessarily embracing it because it was the next to be embraced. They were embracing it because for many of them, that's the only way they can continue to have the influence, they could have the control. And they have found a difficult time getting the individuals back in the church. Now, they haven't left the church through the front door, they're in the backyard. They're saying, I'm still under the covering of this church, but I'm not going back into that structure. They want to be under open heaven. So a lot of things are going on right now. So there still is this falling away that's taking place. When you meet most people today, they'll say, "Oh, I'm not religious. Okay, I'm spiritual," which to me, that's that has not no any content because if you ask them, so can you explain to me what do you mean by that? Not in a challenging way, but just give me some clarity. Can you help me understand what do you mean by it? And you'll be surprised people begin to grope. For many people, it's a way of saying they no longer want to be under a rigid or feel as though the only way they can get it is through this way, but they don't know how to explain it. So that is a way for people to escape from that influence. All right, so the floor is open. Any insights, any questions, anything you would like to see me drill down into deeper on Tuesday night? Let's talk about it briefly. So that way, as I prepare the message for Tuesday, the teaching for Tuesday, I can address the questions that may have come up that you may have. And so I would like to know that. So I see you guys are here. So I would love from what's your takeaway? What did you come away with? What did you think about the message? Let's get a little dialogue going this morning. Good morning, Al. You have the mic.
Good day, brothers. Our love and light to you and the
Yes,
entire
yes.
family. I just wanted to know, you spoke about the Aquarian age. So does that have anything to do with, like, say, with the daily astrology, or should we just, I guess, go along with that, or not go along with it, or how does that tie into one another?
So inside of an age, example, we are currently still in the Piscean age. So the influence, well, everything that Piscean energy and age means, it's the overarching energy. But inside of the age, we have a house. Like right now, what sign type are we in? Who are we celebrating right now? Anybody know? Is it are we still are we in Sagittarius? No, not Sagittarius. What are we in? I know we moved out of the Virgo. Are we still in Virgo? We went Leo, Virgo, And somebody want to type what age we are currently in? Scorpio. So we're in the age of we're in the house of Scorpio for for this 30 days or whatever, and we're in that. So you got the overarching energy is Piscean, so you represented influence. So you in Scorpio that's influenced by a Piscean age. When we move to the next one, which will be, I believe, is Sagittarius, will be in the Sagittarius house, but it's under the influence of this age, which is Piscean. So every house is influenced by the age, okay? And so right now we are still influenced by the Piscean age, but we're in an interesting place. Both energies, the Piscean energy is really pressing hard, and then the Aquarian energy is softly coming in. It doesn't force itself in. But those who have eyes to see, ears to hear, those who are sensitive to this truth will know, okay, this is what's going on. I'm in a period of letting go, of releasing, and a period of receiving. I'm shifting to understand that. Okay? Does that help, Al?
Yeah, and the reason that I guess kind of because it seems like I'm running across more and more people who are telling me, I do AI this, I do AI that, AI that. And so I'm just kind of like, well, I think that that might be the sign for you to get on board and get to rolling heavy.
Right. So so we're being introduced to it. So I encourage people to play with it and not play with it as a toy, but to use it to become familiar with it. This just like there was those teachers who did not allow us to use the multiplication tables at one time. They wanted us to just use to know it by memory, and then we had the calculators, and they didn't want you using calculators. And now we don't even have to know our timetables because calculations are are integrated into the applications we use. So we have to understand that it's here to stay, and we must get out in front of it. We must control it and not allow it to control us. Yeah, so a lot of people are saying they're using it. So I listen to people and I ask them how are they using it. So that's something man, you may ask them. So in what ways are you using AI? How are you integrated into your work? And then you have individuals who are using AI but will never let you know they're using AI because they want to appear to be the smartest person in the room. So you have individuals who say they are against AI, but secretively they're using AI. AI is being integrated in our workplaces. Here, I work for the VA, and we use Microsoft 365. And Microsoft 365 uses Copilot, which is one of the AI models. And so we have Copilot available to us inside the VA system. Now, it's kind of sterile in that it doesn't allow you to do the same things that you can do with Copilot on your personal computer because it has to protect its enterprise. Get on board. Did I help you with that?
Yes, I appreciate you, sir.
Excellent, excellent, good, good. Let me see who I thought I saw another hand come up. Anybody else there to have a question? Oh, good, Carol, I see you, and then Cheryl, I'll come right to you. Carol, you have the mic.
Good morning, Asar.
Mhm.
Good morning, Oasis family. Listen, you know me, you know where I'm going. um, when we're talking about things global, right? Um, I have to first see what's happening with me on a personal level, looking for that shifting and that change that's happening in my life. If you remember some time ago, you were coming alongside of us when we were celebrating 100 years, right?
Mhm.
And I said to you that so said, it was in my spirit that it wasn't just us celebrating 100 years on this farm, but that 100 years you entered a new age. I just got that impression. So I had to look up. He had me look up the number 100, right?
Mhm.
And it in the metaphysical, it's like a new horizon, a new beginning, even, but not so much a new beginning as in the number eight, but as in a whole new age that you entered into. And since then, You're teaching on, the new wine and old wineskins, the caterpillar and the butterfly. I've been looking at all that and seeing that shifting in my life and the resistance that you're talking about, and letting go of old structures, coming out of one house, going into another house, and you're not sure of the new house because it's a new structure for you. And so I've been in that, for a while, just kind of staying quiet and kind of looking and trying to understand. But this past 2 weeks, I've noticed a real shifting. Um, when I say real, I mean materialistic shifting. On one hand, there are a lot of good opportunities that have come to me. On the other hand, it's like, where in the world did this come from? And it's like, how do I integrate this? And just to give you an example, um, you've heard us talk about my 92-year-old cousin that came here, right?
Hmm.
Okay, well, she went into hospice yesterday. But not only that, my brother that's here with me, I've been having some challenges with him. But for some reason, I'm like, oh, why don't I feel? I'm thinking, because yesterday when I was talking to the hospice nurse, it's like, well, what do you mean, do not resuscitate? What do you mean, nothing by mouth? You just gonna let her lay there and die, you're just gonna starve her to death? And they were like, well, no, but you do know that this is end stage processes. We don't do anything. We just let whatever happens happen, right? And I saw I was okay with that. But I was chiding myself because it's like, well, why don't I feel a certain type of way? Why am I not sad about this? Why am I not? And even with my brother, you know, trying to get him to understand, look, I told you I would do this as long as I could. I can't do it anymore and not give you the care that you need. And yet at the same time, not giving myself the care that I need. So I'm looking at this transition and this shifting on a personal level that if I'm about to move into something different, that's the only way I can say it, then a lot of things can't go with me. I can't take a lot of things into that. Does that make sense?
Hmm. Hmm. So you,
So I'm like in the shifting. You did a teaching on the zodiac signs some years ago, maybe even 2 or 3 years ago now, when you were talking about the age of Aquarius and moving into. And I'm thinking as we move into, even with I haven't resisted it, but I haven't embraced it either. Um, and listening this morning is like, okay, maybe it's time for me to really take a look at this because maybe in this age, in this newness, this is what I'm going to have to be working with, and this is what I'm going to have to understand. So I'm understanding the resistance, but also the actual anticipation of what is next. I'm looking for that next breadcrumb. I want to read the signs. I want to know that I'm going in the right direction.
mhm.
So thank you for the teaching this morning. I was determined to be on because my confusion with everything that's going on with me and these two people that's really up in my life. I was like, okay, I need to know what to do, source. And
Okay.
it was like, I know I'll get the answer in the morning.
Hmm. So let me just pray with you, and if all those who are on the phone this morning are in the green room, we'll just point your heart towards Sister Carolyn, and we just pray this morning, Infinite Spirit, you're the one presence. The presence that guides, guards, and governs all of our lives. We pause in this moment to lift Carolyn up into the field of divine clarity, divine courage, divine unfolding. We affirm that she's not standing at the edge of confusion, but at the threshold of her becoming. Even when the outer world feels to her uncertain, the inner world of her spirit remains
Thank you, Lord.
and anchored, unwavering, and ever guiding, and may she lean into it. We declare that Carolyn's path is lit, step by step, breath by breath, by the wisdom within her and the grace that is around her. that every change she faces, every transition she must navigate, every resistance she feels within or encounters without is but a sign that an old chapter is ending and a new consciousness is continually rising. So, Spirit, strengthen her to release what no longer serves her. Open her heart to the newness calling her forward. Quiet every voice of fear or doubt that tries to hold her back. And remind her that she is guided not by circumstances, but by the divine intelligence operating through her. And so we bless her with clarity, with ease, and with strength, with courage, and with the deep inner knowing that all is well and unfolding in perfect order. And so it is.
And
Ah,
so it is.
so it is.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. Just stay in the conversations that stay present to what's going on. All right. And know that you don't have all the answers, but the answers are within. All right. And it's
All right.
not for you to control every situation or circumstance, but to always be present and ask source, what is my role in this situation? Am I to step forward? Am I to step back? Or am I just to come alongside? And with every situation, just don't automatically go into the doing. You know, the old spiritual system that we came out of regulated us to doing certain things. And sometimes we have to be still, just as we tell our the individuals who we counsel to be still and know. We have to be still and know. We have to be still and observe. You're learning something from observation, and we don't always have to be the intervention. All right?
Right. Sorry, you're exactly right. That's where my dilemma was when I said I wasn't feeling a certain way.
Mhm.
I told her cousin Trinity, it's like, whichever way this go, I know it's gonna be the right way. And I was kind of feeling bad because in the old way, I would have been led to pray, Lord, strengthen this, Lord. But I didn't, I wasn't led to go that way. As a matter of fact, I haven't said a prayer for it either way. It's
So,
like,
right. But I want you to speak this word. I want you to say, Lord, let your highest and greatest good be done for all parties involved.
absolutely.
Even
Yes,
when you do feel intervention to pray, um, close with that. Because sometimes we will speak a word that is an interrupting word for the will of the individual or the will of God. And so that we always want to make space that we end our prayer giving the universe, giving God, source, the ultimate power. And that's why I
absolutely.
like to say, let your highest and greatest good be done. When I go to do hospital visits and the family is there and they want the traditional prayer of healing, a traditional prayer of rising, I may speak those things, but I slip into that prayer. Let your highest and greatest good be done.
Mhm.
So,
Last week you were teaching basically on our alignment,
hmm
speaking what source says.
hmm
And the scripture came to me. I don't know if it was last week on the lesson, but the scripture that says, I think it's in James, I think, when he says, we ought to say this
hmm
if it is the Lord's will.
hmm
And, coming out of the word church, then we always say, well, we know what the will of God is, just speaking. No, but I saw it in a whole different way. It's like, if source says the same, if
Right,
the Lord says the same, then this will be done. So that's where I kind of was in this situation. It's like, if the Lord says the same,
right.
then this is how it goes. Thank you, sir.
Mhm. Thank you for showing up and for sharing this morning. Awesome. Okay, Cheryl, hope you're still with us. You have the mic. Good morning. But Cheryl, you're muffled. Hey, Cheryl, wherever you are, can you shift because right now you're coming in muffled.
Can you hear me now?
A little better, a little stronger. Um,
Okay, can you hear me now?
are you on a phone or a computer? No, you're sounding garbled. I don't know. It's not like that normally.
I'm not sure what's going on, but I had a question about. the scripture reference to when you see the man on the pot to follow him.
Hmm.
And my question was, where is he going and where are we following him to? You know, just follow without question.
Okay. When you follow him
That's
into the
where he's
house,
leading. Follow
so
him.
you're kind of muffled.
Yes, it's one
Can
house.
you can you type that into what you're asking? I think I hear you
Yes,
saying, should we follow him? It's muffled.
yes, it's one.
So go ahead and
But
type
it's
what you're
saying,
saying in.
okay,
We'll
you
wait.
can type
We'll
what
wait
you
for you to type
see.
that in.
Wait for you to type that.
Awesome. While we're waiting on Cheryl to type her response in, let me check in. Good morning, Mom. I see you're with us. How are you doing today? Mom, how are you doing? You might have stepped away. Okay, I see you're still at least appear to be in the room. Okay, I'll move on to good morning, Rachel. I'm giving you the mic, Rachel. How are you doing this morning?
I'm great.
Okay, Mom, you're there. Good, good.
I'm feeling better. I listened to the word that you gave, I think it was last Sunday or Tuesday, on watch your words.
Hmm.
People will keep trying to say stuff to make you say stuff. It
Hmm.
worked. I backed out. I got to the point, it kept happening by the same person. Hang up, call back, same person. I let the word go.
So here in a situation, let me help you. Others may experience this too. When you are intentionally not trying to respond to something, and individuals continue to try to lasso you into that conversation, you just be direct and intentional. Say, I don't want to talk about this any further. I'm watching my words that I speak in regards to this matter. So I appreciate that if you would allow me to take the position I've taken.
I
And
tried that.
no, just say that, and there's no try. And then you end with, that's the end of this particular conversation. Can we move on to something else? There's no trying. That's how we do it.
And I had to block it.
Okay. Okay. So if you have to block them because they do that, then you just have to block them, and
I
you
blocked them.
keep it
But
moving.
anyway, I'm doing well. I was up a long day yesterday making hoghead sauce, but I mustered through it. Thank God. My daughter come on over here today and help me with the Bears game and do some work for me. I'm blessed. I'm happy. And that's it. Things happen. I'm feeling fine. So looking at you, guess what? I feel even better. Be blessed, darling.
All right. Thank you for sharing that, and you enjoy your football day.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. And Cheryl, I think I got your question here. You're saying, where do we follow him to? Inside the house, do we follow him without question? So let's kind of, I'm going to unpack that deeper in the teaching. When we look at it of this upcoming week. But what we want to look at is really saying that the new age, follow him into the new age, the new house that we're going into. Move out of the old house. The they were in at that time, they were in the Piscean house. He says that when they were inquiring as to how would they know, he says, you will see a man, you will see an individual. And they knew it was going to be, he knew it would become a man, because we've shifted truth to, it's been veiled. So now you have the Aquarian as a man. It's the true Aquarian water bearer was not a man, it was a female. But he says, oh, this is what's going to happen. This age is going to be represented by a man carrying an urn. The issue isn't the man. The issue is follow him, because he's taking you into the new house. So we're shifting into the new house. Good. So I'm going to go more into each of the houses on this Tuesday night. But does that help, Cheryl? You can put that there, and while I wait your response, I see Rachel says when someone say that they are spiritual and no longer follow a particular religious belief or system, how do you explain or what is your explanation? To me, religion is a system of control. Spirituality is an inner knowing. Yes. So this is when somebody tells me that, sometimes I will ask them when I feel led by the Spirit, what can you explain to me what you mean by that? To help them get clarity. Because then if they can't answer it, then the onus is on them now to go back and rethink what they just said. Now, if they explain to me, I'm not there to tie. Now, if they ask me a question, that's different than if I don't just automatically try to change a person's belief or where they. So, so that's how I deal with that. Let me Okay, good. So I hope that that helped. Okay. To me, religion is a system of control, and religion was formed in the Piscean age or perfected during the Piscean age. During the Piscean age, and when we look at those that dispensation, that time from when the last Piscean age began and when it's scheduled to end, you will see you have that's when we had the formation of the Catholicism, the formation of Judaism, the formation of Christianity, the major religious systems that's in the earth today were harnessed inside of a Western mindset. The truths that are behind each of them have been with us since time immemorial, but they were harnessed inside of a particular culture, inside of a particular context, in order that certain individuals can benefit from them. And that's going to be something that I address on Tuesday, in addition to, I got a couple books that are scheduled to hit the streets soon, and I'm going to go into that. Good. But that's a great question, Rachel. All right. As we prepare to wrap up, we're right at 15 minutes after the hour. I believe all of the questions have been answered. Those of you who are with me this morning, if you got a question, you can shoot it to me in an email. If not, I'm going to wrap this up, and I'm going to encourage each of you to go and have a great day. Each of you to go into contemplation, go into reflection as to where you are and where you want to go. So you have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you guys in the 6 o'clock hour on tomorrow for morning meditation. Love you guys. Peace.